And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Matthew, the 17th chapter, the 20th verse. I'm sure the vast majority of my audience has read and heard this scripture many, many times in their lives. There have been those who have tried to twist it and read other meanings into it. It means exactly what it says. You don't need very much faith to completely dispel fear. Just like light in darkness. All you need to do is light a candle, and the room, completely dark, is no longer. Now, some have said, Florida Maquis, aren't you afraid talking like that? I mean, eventually they're going to come for your channel, and they're not going to allow you to speak this way. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to go forward. Because I know from whence these people come, and who their master is, and they have a secret weakness. In today's video, I'm going to outline this, and I'm going to show you something that I referenced in videos past, that once you see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. There's a series out there called Black Sails, and they don't want you to see it. Some have pushed back and said, why not? There's all sorts of things in there that, trust me, when I show you the real message of that series, it's going to make your jaw hit the floor. Some have also asked, Florida Maquis, why do you talk about the Patriot Nurse all the time? Well, real simple. I know injustice when I see it. She has been on YouTube almost literally since the beginning of it, and has had wave after wave after wave of attack and demonetization, and yet she still goes on. Yet she still fights and does not make excuses. And that's kind of a hint. If you don't think these people can be defeated, I'd like to point you to something. I'm sure many of you know the story. This last past week, she announced that yet a third or fourth wave, I'm not sure, I lost track, of demonetization hit her channel, and they took down a bunch of her videos, and they aren't allowing her to upload for some period of time. I brought this to the attention of the Maquis, my audience, and just in 4, maybe 5 days, almost 70 people have stepped up at her Patreon channel. 70 people. And that's just with my small channel, and just in less than a week. We can make a difference, but you have to have faith, and you have to have diligence, and you have to have courage to call out injustice when you see it. Now, I'm sure many are still scratching their heads. Wait a minute. Hold on, Florida Maquis. You just read a Bible scripture, and I've watched Black Sails. And I remember when I turned on those first few episodes of that first season, boy, there were things in there that for sure aren't biblical. Well, yeah, that's true. It's a story of a pirate colony. It's the story of Nassau and the Bahamas in the 1700s. And when you watch the series, you see all sorts of things that people love to pigeonhole, so to speak. They worry about the mote in other people's eyes when they have logs in theirs. A lot of it has to do with the relations between the characters and the things that go on. And they don't, at that point, they turn off and go, there's nothing I can learn from here because these people are all sinners. And there's all sorts of violence, and there's just all sorts of disgusting things. And I can't understand how any Christian would ever watch this. What's the real message? You know what the real message is? See, everybody in this particular scene, the main characters, they all have a story. A story of how they were at one time living a normal life, and then they made one bad decision or something bad happened, and society came down on them and ostracized them and kicked them out and ruined their life and forced them to have to leave. No forgiveness. And so they come to the new world, and they do what they have to do to survive. And they find themselves surrounded by other people with the same story of mistakes that were made and regrets and unfair events, things they've lost. But in that moment, they realize all they have to do is forgive each other, not make any excuses, and go forward. And this is what binds them together. This faith they have that even though, in the eyes of polite society, they are persona non grata, they've been quote unquote cast into outer darkness, so to speak, that they have this ability to rise above and to not make excuses and not be victims. That's really the key here in this entire series, no matter who you look at. Go back and watch the series if you've watched it before and look at it again. It's about not making excuses. It's about not quitting. It's about just saying, yep, life's unfair, but I'm going to go on anyway. Never forget who helped you out when everyone else was making excuses. You see, it's when we're at our lowest that we find out who our friends are. When we're at our lowest, we find out who our friends are. And what did Jesus say on the cross? To the thief that hung beside him, today ye shall be with me in paradise. And this is the part that they really, really, really don't want you to see, because there's this part where there are these runaway slaves and they create a colony for themselves. And there's a guy in charge, and he goes back to Nassau and plays the good servant so that he can use that to facilitate the escape of even more and more and more slaves to this free colony. And these pirates at one point get captured by them, and they realize they all have this in common. And they work together in their fallen, in their flawed, and what many would describe to be a sinful state. You see, that's the real message. Once you get over all of the visuals, so to speak. And boy, when we look at life today, is that not what we see? There's a group of people that want to control everyone else. And boy, I tell you what, if you're not part of their group, if you're not doing what they say, they're going to ostracize you. They're going to cast you into outer darkness. They're going to make an example of you. And I know you know who I'm talking about. They're going to censor you. See, this is what they did back then. And that's what led to the rise of the New World. People who had been literally thrown out of polite society, trying to make a way. The Spanish had more ships, and the British had more power, and they were at every turn. It was unfair. At every single turn, it was unfair, and some lost their lives. But it was worse to kowtow. It was worse to play the victim. It was worse to give in than to even die. And the Bible also says, ye have yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And make no mistake, excuses are a list of self-imposed obstacles that prevent you from having a better life. See, sometimes people have a really strange notion of what better means. I don't fear these people. They have to hide. They have to cloister themselves up in their ivory towers in the central coast of California. They can't come out and be around the normal people because they know what would happen. They have rings of security around them. They can only be around people who agree with them all the time. And that's why they have to censor and delete, because they cannot handle the reality. They cannot handle the reality that they are the ones in prison, not us. That's why. I've tried to help support the Patriot Nurse because many would have quit by now. Many would have quit. Many would have given up and walked away and said, you know what? 11 years, 12 years, I'm done. I had a good run. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. We need to stop looking at the superficial and being so offended all the time. Stop looking at, the things that are like, oh man, I could never be around somebody like that. I can't have anybody like that. It's just, no, that can't happen. The saddest part of it all, and I'll leave with this, is it used to be a hallmark of the left. Group, the Eagles, Don Henley, Glenn Fry, I forget the other members' names, but back in the 90s, they wrote a song that was an anthem for this very thing. It's called Get Over It. Turn on the tube, and what do I see? A whole lot of people crying, don't blame me. They point their crooked little fingers at everybody else. They spend all their time feeling sorry for themselves. You don't want to work, you want to live like a king, but the big bad world doesn't owe you a thing. You're making the most of your losing streak. Some call it sick, I call it weak. I'm sure a lot of you could probably find this. I don't want to mess up and get my video demonetized for just copyright issues. But man, oh man, how have things changed? So I'll leave it there. But just remember, there's one group of people out there not making excuses and saying, you know what? No matter how much unfairness, I'm going to rise above. I'm not going to demand fairness. I'm not going to demand the world treat me a certain way. I'm just going to rise above. And I'll take allies wherever I can find them. No matter who they are, no matter if they've made mistakes, no matter if they live a life perhaps that I don't agree with, allies are allies. And we will stand against them together. That's the message of Black Sails. The message the left doesn't want you to see. That it works, and it's the foundation of this country. God bless. Have a happy Sunday. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.